Today is a special day for those who are into movies because it's Oscars, right?
Right.
Okay. So I thought it was important that for a black person who had won an Oscar, and we'll talk about her life, and I'm going to make this very short. I'll have this on the side so you can see this later. Hattie McDaniels was born in 1893. She died in 1952. She made history as the first black person to win an Oscar.
Yes, yes.
She won an Oscar, okay? She was the first black person. I'm gonna put that right here. All right. And she played Mammy in Gone with the Wind. Became the first person to win an Oscar in 1940. Some members of the black community, however, criticized her for not pushing harder against racial stereotypes in Hollywood. You can imagine how difficult it was for her to break that mold, because then they didn't see us on television, and now we're on every commercial. Her nuanced legacy reveals the difficulties early black trailblazers faced amid limited opportunities and discrimination. Hattie was born, as I said, in 1893. Formerly, her parents were slaves in Wichita, Kansas. And she was the youngest of 13 children. And so you can see her, I'll try to point to the pictures as I reference them. She had an early start as a performer, joining a local minstrel troupe and her brother's carnival campaign in high school. So she went to high school. Because gigs as a performer and songwriter didn't pay much, she took jobs as a maid and laundress on the side to make ends meet. McDaniel, show business in the early 1900s was a man's world, you can imagine, but McDaniel and her sister Etta launched an all-female blackface minstrel show in 1914 called the McDaniel Sisters Company. There, McDaniel developed her trademark character, an assertive mammy that poked fun at the racist stereotype of a sassy maid. She embarked in a radio career in the mid-1920s. In 1930, she performed on radio as High Hat Hattie, a bossy maid who quips back at her employers. I kind of thought about Florence. Have you seen the Jeffersons? You know how she always has something smart to say? Well, that's kind of what a little sassy. That's kind of what I thought she was saying here as she went through her shows. And you know, back then you couldn't really talk back to your owner, not slaves, but the people that you work for. You could not get smart remarks. So that's what made it so funny to a lot of people, the fact that she would say something back funny to them. She played as a maid at least 74 times, I'm sorry. 74 times through her career. That's a long time. Nothing but maids. You play just stereotype that's all you can do, nothing else. Throughout her career, and that includes films. She's in a film called I'm No Angel, China Seas, Murder by Television. And she had her first speaking part in a 1930 movie, Golden West. Now here's a picture of her with Shirley Temple. And so she had one speaking part in that movie. Other than that, she was just there, be seen but don't speak. In 1937, she won a fierce competition to play the part of Gone with the Wind, who played Mammy in Gone with the Wind. There were other people who wanted to do that part, but she eventually beat out Eleanor Roosevelt's own maid, President Roosevelt's wife's maid. She even wanted the part, but she beat the part out. McDaniels beat her. She went to the audition dressed in a maid's uniform, and she got the part. From the moment the casting was announced, however, McDaniel was criticized by members of the black community for seemingly acquiescing to racial stereotypes in the role she played. And they said, we feel proud over the fact that Hattie McDaniel won the coveted role of Mammy, wrote Earl Morris in the Pittsburgh Courier. it means that about $2,000 for Miss McDaniel, and it really it helped her, but it didn't help the race, is what they're saying. She benefited by the $2,000, but the race did not, and so she was sorely criticized for that. But at least she broke the ice. Yes, somebody has to beat that part. Somebody's got to take that part and let us in there, and that's what she did. She broke the ice, and so other people that came, they built upon what she started, right? So she responded to that comment by saying, "I'd rather play a maid and make $700 a week than be a maid and make $7."
That's right.
See, so somebody had to do it, right? Otherwise, what we're seeing today maybe never would have happened, you know. So, on February 29th, 1940, McDaniel made history by becoming the first person, again, I said that already, Gone with the Wind. And in her acceptance speech, she said, "I sincerely hope that I shall always be a credit to my race and the motion picture industry." That's what she said in her acceptance speech. And you think about it, well, let's finish this. It was during the Oscar ceremonies, she was seated separately from her colleagues at the room where they were. She was barred from attending, she was, read right here. Okay, she was seated separately at the edge of the room because of, they couldn't sit, they couldn't mingle. And she was also barred from attending the Atlanta premiere of Gone with the Wind due to Jim Crow segregation. She couldn't even go to the filming of it, I mean,
she was in the movie.
She could not go. And she was a star in the movie. She could not go.
Right.
Now, Clark Gable was the main, Rex, whatever his name was. But he was, I had always heard that he wanted her to attend, but she could not. And because she could not, he didn't want to go. And she told him to go ahead. That's what I heard. I don't know how true that is. But in researching him, Clark Gable was a famous actor, and his heritage, he was Black and Indian. I don't know if people knew that. But the producers kept that quiet. They didn't want other people to know that. Now, can you imagine this man kissing scenes with white women and interacting with, but he would hit, that one drop blood, but yet he was allowed to still carry on a career. Okay. So, despite the backlash from the Black community, McDaniel continued to play domestic maids, including in the 1946 Disney movie Song of the South, for his depiction of Black Americans in post-slavery era. McDaniels achieved 2 stars on the Hollywood Wall of Fame and shared her success by donating generously to causes like the NAACP. She was also inducted into the Black Filmmakers Hall of Fame in 1975. In 2006, McDaniel became the first Black female winner honored on a U.S. postage stamp. That's her stamp right there. Okay. And then finally, she died of breast cancer in October 1952, but the Hollywood Forever Cemetery owner refused to allow her to be buried there. McDaniel has said she wanted to be buried in the Hollywood Forever Cemetery, where white filmmaker stars like Douglas Fairbanks and Rudolph Valentino rested. But the original owner of the cemetery refused, and McDaniel was buried in Rosedale Cemetery, her second choice, after her death in 1952. She was 59 years old when she passed away. But the current owners of the Hollywood Forever Cemetery later honored McDaniel with a cenotaph. A cenotaph is an empty tomb. So they did put something there to honor her. And they have written on it, Aunt Hattie, you are a credit to your craft, your race, and to your family. That's what it reads on the cenotaph. And that's my report on Hattie McDaniels.
Very good. Thank you.